Hi, this is Nick coming to you live from the Lifetime Testing Facility. Today we're going to talk about ice retention. Our cooler here, this is a new Lifetime cooler, but any cooler that you take out, any cooler that you're going to use is going to have the same principles, similar types of things that you're going to want to do to keep your ice retention good on your cooler. So the first thing you want to do is pre-chill your cooler. The best way to do that is this, dry ice. Dry ice is negative 109 degrees Fahrenheit. You put this in your cooler, it's going to get it as cold as possible. Put this in the night before, and it's going to get your cooler down so you're not trying to cool your cooler as well as your food. So that's the first step, is get ice in your cooler, specifically dry ice, to get it as cold as possible. After we pre-chill our cooler, the next important thing is to have pre-chilled food, basically making sure that all the food that's going into your cooler is as cold as possible to start from. So we have sodas here in our cooler. These have been in the fridge and gotten as cold as possible to go into the cooler. Once they're in the cooler, there's other things that we can do, and it's doing a pre-freeze on the food that's in the cooler. So if you can actually freeze any of your food, that's the best, because it's going to get the cooler and keep the temperature down as low as possible. So right here we have ground beef, we've got some soup. These are pre-frozen, and this is going to make sure that the ice lasts longer, because if the food's already cold, the ice isn't going to have to do as much work. The rest of the food that we have in here, we've got eggs. Now, nobody wants to get a soggy egg, so we went ahead and put our eggs in a plastic bag that's going to be good for keeping the water out, so that our eggs are nice and ready for us when we're ready to use them. And we've also got cheese, again, in a Ziploc bag, which is going to keep the water out of it. Now we're going to talk about the ice that we're going to use. Multiple ways. You can use crushed ice, you can use block ice, but we're going to talk about best ways and best practices for ice retention. First off, we're talking about block ice. A block ice, what's nice about this is because it's so compact, it's going to last longer. It's going to keep the ice retention in your cooler better. It doesn't cool your food as quickly, but it does last longer. To cool your food quickly, we have a bag of crushed ice. The crushed ice here is going to get all around the food, and it's going to make sure that everything is cool as it can get. So the best method is to use crushed ice as well as block ice. Now, if you're really worried about your food getting wet, or if you're not able to put stuff in Ziploc bags or whatever, another great way is these. These are pre-frozen bottled water, as you can see here. And you put these in, and the ice lasts for quite a long time. Same type of thing, as long as everything's pre-chilled, this is going to last a long time. But this is also, as it melts, it's not going to get the rest of the cooler wet. You're not going to have water at the bottom of your cooler. So this is another option as well. Now, one of the important things to do when you're talking about freezing the food and getting it all as cool as possible is to remember that hot air rises. The temperature of the cooler is going to, any of the hot air is going to come up this way. And we have an insulated lid, which is good. It's going to keep the cool in. But the best method is to put your food in first and get that all situated in there. And then you want to put the ice, whether it's your frozen water bottles, whether it's your crushed ice, you're going to want to put those in on top. That allows the cool air to go down and surround all the food that's already in there. But it also allows the hot air to come up and then to be re-chilled by the ice. So that's an important step, is to put your food in first and then put your ice on top. That's going to help with your ice retention as well. Next step to remember is the air is the enemy. Air is bad. Any air that is inside your cooler is going to not help the ice retention. So when you're putting your food in, we've got your frozen soup, we've got your frozen burger, we've got your frozen water bottles. Anything that you can get in there is important. This is going to help the cooler to be colder. So as long as you fill every nook, every cranny, every part of your cooler with ice, that's going to be an integral part of your ice retention. Next, we're going to talk about the ice. As it stays in the cooler, you're obviously going to get water into your cooler. The block ice is going to melt, the crushed ice is going to melt, and it's going to get and go towards the bottom of the cooler. Now, we've already made some efforts with our eggs that we put in a Ziploc bag. We have the cheese in a Ziploc bag, so that's going to keep those from getting wet inside your cooler. But one of the things is a lot of people will go ahead and drain that water. If you're looking for premium ice retention and the best ice retention possible, don't drain that water. The water is going to keep the cooler cold, it's going to fill those air spaces, and so all of that cold water, leave it in there. It's going to help your ice retention to go further and allow you to keep your food and all that stuff cold longer. The next step is to keep your cooler cold. The outside of your cooler needs to be as cold as possible. So whether you can put the cooler in the shade, whether you can put it in a river, whether you can put it any location where it's going to be cooler than anywhere else. As long as it's out in the hot sun or in your hot car or in the back of your truck where it's hot, it's going to make the exterior of the cooler more hot, which is going to make it so that the inside warms up quicker. So the colder you can keep the outside of the cooler, the colder the inside is going to stay. The last thing is to keep your cooler lid closed. You keep this closed, you keep these latched down as much as possible. That's going to keep all the cool air, all the ice, all of that inside the cooler. Anytime you open the lid, say I want to get a drink out, and I'm coming for a soda, got my soda. Every time I open the cooler, I'm introducing hot air into this environment. That makes it so that the ice retention isn't going to last as long. So every time I open the lid, I'm going to close it, keep it secure, and we're going to keep as much of the ice retention in as possible. Thanks for coming by the Lifetime Testing Facility. For more information, please check out coolers.lifetime.com.